Hi everybody, Charles with the Haunted House of Oxford. Welcome back, and today we're talking about remote controlling your animated props, your animatronics, your Home Depot props, your Lowe's, your Spirit Halloween, your wherever you got them props. Because sometimes, well, it's just not as easy as relying on the built-in sensors. Sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands. There's a couple options out there. I'm going to talk about the most common one, and then an uncommon one that I don't hear too many people talking about, but we're going to show you how you can use one of those to really expand on this general idea. So let's get going. Now, many props out there have a function called Try Me. So a lot of props, you have an on switch, you have a sensor switch, and a Try Me switch, sometimes in various configurations of such. But the Try Me option takes a 1/8" mono plug. It looks something very similar to this. And this plugs into the Try Me jack on the back of your prop. And what that does is it allows you to use a step pad or any various methods of controlling it to activate your prop instead of relying on the built-in sensor. A lot of these motion sensors can be pretty sensitive or not sensitive enough when it comes to certain lighting conditions and so forth. So maybe you don't want step pads. Maybe they don't work for where you are. Maybe you just want to have the glory of activating a prop on your say-so, not somebody else's. Well, it's exactly what my case was last year. Now last year I bought the Spirit Halloween 4-channel prop remote. So this is a remote control wireless that gives you 4 receivers like this that are labeled A, B, C, and D to correspond with the A, B, C, D on the remote. Now there are a couple limitations to the Spirit Halloween remote. One is range. I was getting about 30 to 40 feet through walls and stuff at the house before. It was right at the range where it may or may not work depending on what you were going for. So that was kind of a big one for me. And another drawback is that these remotes are all on the same frequency. So let's say you bought 3 sets of these things. So now you've got 3 remotes all labeled A, B, C, and D. You've got 3 sets of A, B, C, and D receivers. Well, if they're all within range, anytime anybody pushes any of the A buttons, for example, all of the A's will go off. Anything within range, that's what's going to happen. Now, this might work out great for you if you have a haunt that's spread out quite a bit and you've got a group in this area and a group in that area and the ranges don't overlap. That might work for you, but the majority of people, if you've got more than 4 props that you want to control wirelessly, this just ain't going to work. It is a $50 option. You do have to get some AAA batteries to go on these things. So, you know, you're 50, 60 bucks into this remote that can only handle 4 things in close range. It's not a bad idea. I used it last year, had no problems with it. It was great, just kept it in my pocket. If I knew somebody was walking by something, bam, hit the button and away we go. Worked out really well. But there is an alternative. So when I was on Fright Props website, I came across a product that looks like this. This is not the one from Fright Props, but it looked exactly the same. It's got 12 buttons on it. It's got a little box, and this is a 12-channel relay box that gives you 12 buttons. So in theory, you can control 12 different props as you go. Now the one on Fright Props is $79.99 the last I looked. I am not saying that the ones that are a third of the price on Amazon are better. And I'm also not saying that the one on Fright Props is not worth the money. And I'll come back to that at the end of this because there is a reason why you may want to go that route versus what I'm about to show you here. But the one I bought was $23 on Amazon. I'm going to turn the camera around, point you at the table. Let's open this thing up and I'll show you A, how it works, all the issues I've had with it, the things you might need to look at if you buy the same one or others just like it off Amazon, and all right, let's get into the quick and dirty. Here's the unit itself. Pop the cover off. Here we go. 12 relays, power connection, plus and minus. Takes 12 volts DC, at least this particular unit. We do not need to worry about sending power out of the relays because we're not using it for that. We're literally just using them to close the relay switch so that way it triggers our prop via the Try Me plug. So I'm just using a 12 volt DC, 1 amp power supply, more than adequate to do the job. Most of the units themselves, if you go on Amazon, you search for 12 volt DC 12 channel remote relay, this is more or less what you're going to find. I find a bunch of them. They're all basically the same thing, different varying descriptions and instructions, if you will. When I say instructions, I mean the description on Amazon is your instructions. Most of these you're not going to get actual instructions. I think I've only seen one company that actually sends out a printed version of their instructions. Now this one, for example, has an absolute horrible description, horrible instructions on the Amazon listing, so we had to figure some stuff out ourselves. First thing we figured out is that the relays are labeled wrong, both on the circuit board itself and on the diagram that you find on the Amazon listing. The Amazon listing has a diagram showing that this is number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm not sure why, because there's 12 relays, so why would we stop at 11? So that's wrong. And then on the circuit board, there's actually tiny little letters printed on here, K7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all so forth, corresponding with the relays. Now, in all actuality, when you're looking at this orientation, this is relay number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's exactly how they're set up. Those are the relays that are going to go off when we hit this button. Now, A, B, and C is how these things are labeled. Not normally open, normally closed, and common, but A, B, and C. There's no legend, there's no key, there's no anything whatsoever to tell you what does what. So, again, trial and error, we can determine that A, B, and C. B is your common terminal, A is your normally closed, and C is your normally open. So as you can see, we've got our lead here that goes out to our Try Me plug set to B and C. So we are currently wired to normally open. And we want that because when we push the button, we want the relay to then close and then make the connection to send the signal out. And then we want it to stay open again. So that's how you would wire it. So we figured out the buttons and we figured out the relay configuration when it comes to that. What about the learning modes? Now on this particular unit, and I know I'm referencing this specific one, so I'll get over into some of the other differences here in a minute. This one says that when you hit this into learning mode, you can use buttons number 3, 6, and 9 to change your different modes. 3 is supposed to be momentary. 6 is supposed to be one at a time, so all of them would be open. You would push a button and then that relay would go closed. Push another button, that one goes open and that one goes closed. So only one relay can be closed at any given point in time under mode number 6. And then the button number 9 mode is supposed to be basically a toggle on and off. So you would push it, it would open the relay for whatever, you would push the button again, it would close the relay. Now here's the kicker. On this particular unit, 3 and 9, if you set your learning mode and you push the buttons 3 or 9, they both do the same thing. There is no momentary if you follow directions. However, I didn't follow directions. I got annoyed that this wasn't working in the way that it should, so I started looking at some of the other models on Amazon and started reading through all of theirs. And on a whim, I just decided, what if I start pushing other buttons instead of 3, 6, and 9? So it's exactly what I did. Now to put this thing into learning mode, directions say you just push the button once and push a button. That's not how this works. You actually have to push this down and hold it until you get a solid beep, and then you push the corresponding button for whatever mode you wanted, be it 3, 6, 9, or in my case, button number 1. So here we go. Those 3 beeps mean that it has accepted the mode. Kind of a caveat here, it will beep 3 times no matter what buttons you push. Whether or not it actually changes a mode, it just beeps 3 times. The only way to know is to actually test it and see if any behavior has changed. So we are now set, because I pushed number 1 into actual momentary mode. So if that's all you need for this information, you're done. This particular unit, option number 1 in learning mode, puts us into momentary mode. So when we push number 2, it's right here. It's just activating the relay going from open, closed. Now if I had my multimeter over here, you'd be able to see that. You'll just have to take my word for it. Now in our case, this one is number 7. So the sacrifices I make for my video, I just scared the crap out of my dog. I'm sorry, pup. It's all right. Sorry. We're not going to do it again, but you can see that that's how that works. Now, if you were using button mode 3 or 9 instead of 1, remember, 1 is not in the description. 1 is not in the instructions. 1 doesn't exist as far as this thing is concerned, but it does. But if you were using 3 or 9, what would happen is that you would push a button and it would go into open mode. So they all start as normally closed when you plug this thing in, turn it on. So if I push number 5, for example, if we had something wired up here to 5, I would push it. So right now it's like this. I would push 5. It would open the circuit. But opening does nothing. We would get no trigger. We have to push 5 again to then close that, and then the prop would go off. Then it stays closed. We push 5 again because, hey, somebody else is coming. Let's reactivate it. You push 5. It doesn't go off until you push it yet again. So you can see how that toggle mode really is not helpful for Halloween. So that's kind of the hiccups with this, is they're not very well put together. The instructions are crap. They're not labeled right. Modes are all over the place. So if you're going to buy one of these, be it the exact model, if I have the link down below and you're able to find one, or another one just like it, if out of the box it does not behave in a way that you're expecting, try different modes, because I have a feeling most of these are going to be pretty similar when it comes to the actual programming down the road. So if the behavior is wrong, try different modes, even if it's not listed on your instructions. If it says use 3, 6, or 9 and those aren't working, try 1, 2, 4, 7. Try whatever buttons and keep testing it that way. That's all I can say as far as that goes. The other thing that I don't like about this, really there's only 2 things. One is the stupid beep is very, very loud. And I'm just going to desolder the speaker because it's really annoying. The other thing that's kind of annoying is the only cutout on here for wires is down here at the end where the power is, so you kind of have to fish your wires up and around. You could also notch them out, but you'll have to kind of make that do with as you will. All right, conclusion time. Spirit Halloween 4-channel prop remote has some pros. So it's 50 bucks, but it's all in, and you've got 4 receivers. This is all the receiver is. You can take this and move it from prop to prop. You can move the prop everywhere. It doesn't really matter. This is all that the prop has to worry about. Look, ma, no wires. You don't have anything else to worry about. So it is a very easy plug and play solution if all you need to worry about is 4 props and you don't have to worry about having too far a range in order to set off your props. On the other hand, these 12-channel relay boxes, if you're not adverse to wiring your own Try-Me plugs and you can run wire in a way that's not going to be interfering and you don't mind that sort of thing, then for about the same money or more, if you go with the Fright Props one, and again, we'll talk about that in just a second, if that's actually worth more than the $30 that you spent on one from Amazon. These give you a lot more channels. You've got 12 buttons you can run. You've got a much bigger range. You can be 100 yards away from the thing and still trigger it. So there are definitely some pros to this as well. Okay, elephant in the room. Is the Fright Props version of this same exact controller worth 80 bucks? Maybe. One thing that you're getting with the Fright Props version of the same exact box is the support and the knowledge of the people at the company. If you were to call the Amazon seller and ask them why your programming, the momentary learning mode isn't seeming to work properly, good luck. These are all basically Chinese manufacturers. Mine definitely came from China. It did arrive fairly quickly. It only took about a week, so props to that. But trying to get support for something like that can be a nightmare. So Fright Props, they're going to be able to walk you through all of this stuff right from the get-go. If you're going to buy one from Amazon, be prepared to tinker around a little bit, trial and error, see what you can figure out, how to make it work. And as long as you don't mind that sort of stuff, and as long as you don't mind wiring your own jacks and things like that, these 12-channel relay boxes can be a really powerful way to control a lot more props all at the same time, all from the comfort of your own favorite spooky rocking chair. So that's going to do it for me. Thank you for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you found any of this helpful whatsoever. And if you did, just let me know down below. If you have any other questions, just shoot those down below. And for now, that's going to do it. We'll see you next time.